for some boom, baby, boom. Rise and shine. It's your morning marijuana motivation time. I'm your host with the mostest, Marky Saint, and I'm up a little bit early, 10 o'clock in the morning at the new place. It's still getting put together. We're going to talk about curated content, where one place looks fancy and the next place looks trashed. You know, you'd like to think that everything is as fancy, but that's not what lasts. It's always the last branch or the leaves everywhere or random furniture outside. You'd like for it to be pristine and perfect, but that's not really how it goes. Your boy Marky Saint's Addiction. I tell the truth all the time, even if it doesn't benefit me. I think it's better to have reality, like the rotten fruits that are falling from the trees, than the fakery that we pretend that we have in our lives. I was thinking this morning just how easy it is for people to be in the fakery, the everything's all right, even though they're running out of money, or keep drinking but complain about their finances, or my narcissistic ex, but that's the type of people you date. There's such a different side to all of us. That's why I called it Saints Addiction, these extremes of having it all put together, but then having it all fall apart. You know what I'm saying? Like the trash between the clean, the perspective switch that we all have. Here's my porch with the flipped open. I don't even know what this is. I'm glad this ain't my spot, but it looks homeless enough as is. You know? Nothing is linear in Vietnam. I keep saying it. This wacky Vietnam, this place with no rules, but people have to have their helmets, or, you know, uh, no understanding of like air conditioning. I was asking for the air conditioning last night, so they rolled me in the swamp cooler. You know what I mean? It's nice and cool in here now, but I think we all want to shine. We don't want to be in a shitty situation. We don't want to be in shitty financial situations, shitty relationships, shitty outcomes. And then we'll get one glimpse of hope and post it so fast you won't even see your head spin. It's just like that kind of situation. Literally a flipped over couch right next to me, you know what I mean? This is not so close to me. And this is my station for the morning motivation. I'm waking up early. So was Miles. Even the tree is braced up by other trees. You know what I mean? And you'd like to think that someone has a better life than you, but you have no idea what they're going through. You have no idea when's the last time this bike has been ridden, or how many leaves have fallen inside the basket. It's almost never ending, the perspective that we keep in our head versus the one that we show online is such a stark difference. I sat there with the locals yesterday and listening to them, and I thought that I was so unique, or that my island was so unique in Thailand. But it turns out most people, you know, are the same people on a different island, talking about their relational, their financial, their circumstances. It's all part of the plan. Like around here and in most places in the world, we'd like to pretend that it's always touchdowns, it's always high energy, and we never talk about the boredom or the delay of pain. I was talking about this morning with Miles, you know what I'm saying? And I was explaining that that's the loop of addiction, right? The loop of addiction is to push the pain away however we can. My little cigarettes or weed or alcohol, masturbation, pornography, anything that keeps our monkey minds from remembering the pain that exists in our lives. And it's just a slick way of doing it. We're a bunch of kids, adults with kid minds that just to placate ourselves. I was watching my friend. Good morning. Just walking up. Sure, I guess. I don't, it's interactive. It's a full-on trip. While I sit here and smoke my little cigarettes, because I just found weed on the island. I haven't found weed in a minute. But smoking all those spliffs in Finland had me back addicted to nicotine. Or I'd rather smoke than be bored or have something to do with my oral fixation. I heard there's a place called Blue Monkey or Happy Buddha or something like that on the island where I can score some weed. So I got to smoke with these guys on the beach yesterday, and I was like lit, and I was like, man, I really like the rush of being high in my head, and then how it gives me that calm effect, but then I want to keep smoking to keep that calm effect, and then just lifts me into the atmosphere where pretty much I was worthless to myself for a little bit. I had to close the laptop. I'm like, there's no way I can concentrate on a screen. This stuff is intense to me. And isn't that what we all do? We all run for an escape just to get out of our fucking brains and leave the pain that exists between the ears. It's in our mind. It's a plague. It wakes my buddy up early, even though he didn't get to bed till late. It gives him the shaky leg and makes us nervous, so we don't have enough money, so we freak out and we put ourselves in stress conditions that aren't really ourselves. We're trying to avoid losses, and by that we'll lose time and the appreciation of time. It's supposed to be the enjoyment, the passing of time, and instead we're stressed that the next time's going to be so bad that we'll treat the now moment as bad. It's like, oh, this is all bad, bro. So might as well stay stressed the fuck out, because otherwise, it's an operant conditioning that we condition ourselves to brace for the worst, and if we stay on that edge of stress, then we'll be more at the ready for whatever's going to come our way, instead of seeing that at any day it can all change. At any day you can be snap in a different country, snap in a different mentality, snap with different opportunities. Instead, we'll sit there stressed at the ready, at the front line, expecting for it to fucking fire back or expect something worse to happen. And that's what we do. We prep ourselves, preparing ourselves for this inevitable downfall. And instead of enjoying the windfall of it being free and not having any stress, we'll stress ourselves out even in the off times. You know what I mean? Like, we'll just even give ourselves even more stress to make ourselves feel like if we are the watchtower, and even though we didn't sleep, that we're always going to stay up to watch the border. And you can't always be at the ready. You can't always be on the front line. You can't always be taking fire. It's a term, I think it was shell shock, the shell shock of it. That, you've been too long in the war. You've been too close to the damage. And, of course, they're going to start doing construction, 10 o'clock in the morning, And, yeah. It's all those things. We love to show off the room, but it's just a box with some colorful windows, You'd love to brag about it, but it's like expensive to stay here. My buddy already took off. Miles went to go with the Czech chick to go see if there's some long-term stays, some stuff that's a little less expensive than what we're paying, and it almost seems like something I should be getting my ass in gear to fucking make a move to either stay here or go on to Thailand, where I have cheap accommodation. I could stay for free, or hopefully stay for free, and then I pay my electricity and my water, which is like $40 a month, which is like nothing to live on a beautiful island and around all the friends that I know instead of all the new stuff. This place has a lot more traffic, a lot more motorbikes, a lot more weirdness, but it's not separate from anybody else's weirdness. You know, it's like everywhere you go, somebody's complaining or gossiping or hooking up with a different person. This island is the same as other islands. I'm sure it's like Bali, and I've never been. You know, I'm sure it's like Australia, and I've never been. You know, I'm sure it's like New Zealand, and I've never been, because it's so hard to uh, live life perfect. You know, like everybody wants to curate their content and show them that they didn't have any mistakes, that they don't have a complicated relationship where they're in love with somebody else, but that person is completely addicted to the drama of their ex, and they're still in that old mentality and in that old relationship. They haven't shaken it from their head, so that's still the first thing that goes inside of their minds. Or how hard it is to keep above float and keep an affording, because you want to be on the beach popping the beers left, right, and straight. These guys kept going, another one, another one, another one, and I'm looking around and I'm like, we're all choosing our poison. We don't sit there and say, hey, this is how many beers I drank last night. Instead, we'll post a photo of just a bunch of friends with smiles on their faces, but most of them are running from something. We talked about this scenario, especially when you're traveling, that most people have some kind of mental disorder, that they're running from, either like an old relationship on some eat, pray, love, or they're trying to avoid some kind of loss at home. Maybe they lost a parent, maybe they lost a job, maybe they lost their minds. You don't know. We're all capable and culpable of many things that we just don't share. And I was out here going like, I wanted to be real. I wanted to be real about, the that some people are just here to escape, you know and if that's not the beginning of addiction, that cycle of, I just want to leave my mind, I don't want to feel anything, even if it's just sex, or maybe it's weed, or maybe it's alcohol. We'll do anything it is, even including, like, I just got off the phone with my friend, giving ourselves cirrhosis of the liver. Did I get it? It was something in my eye. Yeah, fucking finally. I don't know if you can see it, but fuck, thing was bugging me. Almost killing ourselves, even though it hurts ourselves, we still keep doing it because it provides the dopamine that eases the pain. And that's what we're all looking for, is pain relief. You're thinking like, okay, well, if I make enough money, then I'll be relieved. And then it comes the stress of the monthly. What was my buddy paying? 1,800 a month in rent in Florida. And I was like, this is $9 a night. And he was just like, fuck, I could live in a hotel the rest of my life. And I was like, yeah, but you wouldn't be able to make the income that you do in America selling cars again, my buddy Chinnan. You wouldn't be able to make that income. You have to make it before you get here. So we all work like a Hebrew slave. Some of them living off their pensions, some of them living off their social security. It's just enough to get by, but it's not enough to fucking make you free at last. You know what I mean? And that's what I see. I see a lot of curated content where I'd like for it to be all pretty, and the outside. But on the other side, there's trash, and when we got here, there was just, the whole thing was full of leaves. And as soon as they started getting customers, they started to sweep, and I think that's what it is. It's like, we don't really live the lives that we show online. We only highlight what we want people to see. And I think they're called highlight reels, right? Then the highlight reel, to highlight the blessed life. When, yeah, that's why I left a picture of a perfectly good alleyway, or what is it? Just, it was like an alley, but the whole street was tore up, or that we were watching all these dudes do the electricity, and like 15 other dudes standing around watching one dude up on a pole, and then the whole island didn't have electricity. And then you get into your room, and then they're like, oh yeah, it's got aircon, but it wouldn't get cold, so they rolled in this aircon unit so I could go to sleep. And you want everything to be even. You kind of want to be that person that's like, yeah, I got the hotel room, but the girlfriend and I are arguing, you know, or I got the sea view, but the next place over, just directly here, is completely bombed out, like it's about to fall apart, you know. So it's one of those things, like, sure, your value of your house is going up, but your neighbor's not mowing his lawn, so your value goes down. We're in a constant pecking order, you know. Good morning. Because we just bring some random raw chicken here, you know, of events that we want people to perceive that we're doing okay, but really we're lonely. I see a lot of people that you don't see them online. All of a sudden, they post multiple times just to reach out and connect with anyone. Anyone, please talk to me. Anybody that's out there, I want to not be alone. I don't want to be scared. I don't want to be in pain. And this goes right back to what my friend said in Brazil. She said, uh, I don't want to hurt alone, Mark, you know, and that's where the misery loves company, or that's where we find people to bitch around, or anybody that will listen. We'll solicit our friends as free psychologists, you know, we'll finger fuck our phone because, hey, you know, procrastination is a numbing tool versus, you know, getting to the root of what's causing it and driving us to hurt ourselves, you know. And it seems asinine. Like, why would you keep drinking if it's cirrhosis of the liver? Because your brain has metabolized the alcohol as a pain remedy that eases that stress, that feeling that things aren't all right. Or maybe it's your shaky leg syndrome, you know, where you can't even sit right. I know for me, I can't even do caffeine because it gets me twacked out. They got some of the best, strongest coffee in the world here in Vietnam. It's so sweet. And then boom, it hit. Yeah, people yelling at 10 o'clock in the morning. You know, like, it could be calm and serene with the fucking birds chirping, and then people are yelling. You know, it's all over the place. This wacky ass Vietnam. Yep, yep. Yep, let's just yell at each other at 10 o'clock in the morning. So, you know, life is tough, bruv. It's tough. People are sleeping and they're yelling, you know? Like, what is going on here? I don't know. So, half the time, you know, these people are living their lives. They're coming here, living here a long time, kind of like the island in Koh Chang for me. But there's people here that become expats, and I wanted to call them long-term tourists. I want to say people that aren't really from this country but found a way to, you know, afford their beer, afford their food, and afford to yell at their loved ones away from $1,800 rent, $2,500 rent like it is in America. So, you know, you come away from one boiling pot and then you get into the other. And then next thing you know, you got your neighbors yelling at each other for no reason. I'm sure of it, you know, frustrated. And that's what we all are in a way where we're frustrated every day with something that doesn't go our way, or makes us feel like we're not okay, or disturbs our peace in a way that you wouldn't expect it to. Like, she started waking up, poor girl, in the morning. She woke up and said, you know, she turned right back around, like, what is going on outside? You know, it's like, I'm not yelling, you know what I mean? But it's unfortunate that people do that, you know? Life is as easy as you'd like it to be. You want it to be like, oh yeah, I got this job in Vietnam, I'm working the bar, but then you're around drunk people all the time. And you got to make all these other drunk people drink more, and pretend like they're having the time of their lives. Those girls were dancing on the table. They're young, dumb, full of cum, listening to the gay guy sing. I felt like I was in a cruise ship, you know, with a crooner singing all the what's the what's it Lizzo songs, and I don't need you and stay away, and they're just getting drunk all day. And now I'm sure they're hungover this morning and a little less in the pocket. But that night you're just in another shit bar that they do this every night, just churn and burn customers, bro. Just churn and burn them, make them feel horrible, and then spend all your money on Duck tacos. I had duck tacos, 189,000 dongs, so almost 200,000 dongs, so almost like $8 tacos. You know, when you're spending $8 a night or $8 tacos or $9 a night, it adds up. You know, you're spending less than $1 a beer, but you keep ordering them over and over again. It adds up, and that's why we don't really calculate that shit. We don't really say, you know, hey, this is expensive. No, we'll just be like, yo, I'm on top of the world. I made it to Hanoi, and my life is of grandeur. Little do you know that my homie left his shirt, he left his ear pods, he left his socks, you know. He's like, can you mail them to me? I'm like, I don't know, it sounds expensive, you know, like if it's more than $75, he told me, right? He said if it's more than 75 US dollars, just just keep it. And I was like, okay, I guess I'm not really interested in adding more things to my bag. You know what I'm saying? It's your stuff. But it's always something. We're either like running from something or hiding from something or showcasing something so someone else doesn't see it and that thinks, good morning. Yeah. So nobody sees it. Yeah, it's the trash can. That's cool. You know, we'll wear our cool clothes. We'll hang out with uh, or try to hang out with beautiful girls. We want our lives to be this shiny object that is of the envy of other monkeys' eyes, of monkeys that don't even realize that we've gone through struggles or that we're running out of money or that we have broken hearts or that we're still fucking around with our ex or that we're addicted to drama or that we still have dark triad traits. I was trying to tell my friend. I don't know why this guy's yelling. You know what I mean? Like, or that my neighbors aren't abusive, right? Like, this whole thing is a whole situation. I'm gonna peek my head and check on him. Hopefully, he's not swinging on her, you know? But it's like this. Right. Oh, yep. He's just yelling at her, and I'm sure you don't want to be yelling at anybody who wants to yell at their loved ones, but that's the ones that we usually take it out on. You know, we're usually abusive to the people that are closest to us because like we get away with it. They're in love with us, so that way they give us a free pass when we're frustrated. They know when we get frustrated, but we take it out on them. hmm And literally, I just saw two white boys with their beers walking past. So it's like, you know, when you're here, you see people with their habits. You get to see the thing that they do every day. I don't care if it's on a beach or if it's in an office or if it's at home, you know, that they make sure that they get their alcohol, that they make sure that they get their cigarettes, that they make sure that they get their weed because then it can calm them on the inside. Then they can feel like normal human beings or find their own equilibrium or what we call homeostasis, right? So to get to an area where you're not tripping all the fucking time about looking yourself in the mirror and going, damn, Mark, you got to get rid of that weight around your stomach, or you got to make more money, or you got to stop smoking cigarettes and start smoking weed, or give up everything. It's not easy. It's not easy to look at some plush spots and go like, why am I not up there? Or why can't I afford a place with a pool? Or why is this guy yelling? Or why aren't things of incongruency? And it just never is, you know, and it never will be. You know, rat traps, you know, things sitting around, you know, things that have been sitting since last season and have been forgotten about. You know, we all try to do our best to wire ourselves together to keep the lights on, but Lord knows it's hard, you know. It's hard to keep your head above water. It's hard to keep yourself sane instead of in storage or lose the weight or, you know, whatever else that my little chocolate pancake I ate yesterday, or eating expensive food. So I got to walk all the way up the street to get a banh mi. A banh mi is just basically thing the French gave the Vietnamese. There's another butterfly. That's the only thing they gave the Vietnamese was good French bread. Other than that, they just throw a little bit of meat, a couple pieces of lettuce. Look at some.